Okay, Mr. Heckathorn, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
If you grab a rose bush, what do you say?
Okay, have you been to a Board of Equalization prior to this?
I have not.
Okay, I'll explain the process we go through. Every year the Idaho statute requires the assessor to appraise properties at current market value. Those do have a relation with property tax, but it's not necessarily. Everybody wants to talk about the property taxes, but the purpose of this is to find out what your house would sell for, fair market value. And so we'll have the assessor will give us the information they have that they use to arrive at the value. You'll have the opportunity to provide us with any evidence or information on sales or something else that would condition, things like that, that would show your value may be a little lower if you think that it's not fairly priced. We'll come to a conclusion today. If you're not happy with it, we'll give you the information on how you can file an appeal to our decision, which is the State Board of Tax Appeals, and that's held right here in a setting kind of like this in September. And we'll give you those instructions. So with that, you're defending a value. This is the house on 3509 Nathan?
That is correct.
Okay, and the assessor is defending the value of $638,542.
Correct.
And you said that you think it should be $381,587, which was the value prior to the COVID-19, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, let me see what you have.
Maybe we'll have them explain how they came up with the value based on
Okay,
other
I
sales.
understand
Oh, that
that,
might be
so
easier.
I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel.
Right. So go ahead and explain how the sales, comparable sales that you used.
You want to explain that part?
Okay, I didn't see a Springbrook on my list of comparables. Yeah, I didn't see any of these on the list that I received. Woodhaven, I did see that house. So apparently there's some new comparables in here that I have not seen on Springwood.
Do you have any comparables?
That wasn't on the list I was given.
Do you have any comparables of your own?
Pardon?
Do you have any other sales comparables of your own that you think may be applicable?
No, I have a bunch that are not comparable though, that from the list I was given.
So the challenge that we face is during our appeals process, we have a lot of people come in throughout the day, and we'll quickly run through and try to give the homeowner an idea of some comparable sales. A lot of times it's as quick as we can just to give like a general idea. When we do schedule a hearing, we have a better opportunity to go in. We have a little more time to prepare and find, I guess, more specifically some comparable homes. I guess I can't speak to the homes that were.
Well, this is what I was given.
Yeah.
To check, and I did check those out.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess, again, I apologize if these aren't the same cells that we have on this sheet. Generally, when we give, as I said, when we have homeowners that'll come in with concerns, we'll quickly try to pull up some cells to give them an idea how we arrived at the value. And it seems like as Roxanne has had time in between the closing of our appeals time and now this hearing, she's had a better opportunity to go in and spend a little more time trying to find some specific sales of homes that are comparable to yours. Whereas in the initial meeting that she had with you, to give you comparables, again, that was probably a quicker compilation of sales.
Well, there's only one of these comparables that was on this list, and so I wasted a lot of time checking those out.
Yeah, and I apologize, again, that the cells on the initial list were not the same, but essentially we're just coming up with comparables. I mean, we're gonna factor in every comparable cell that we do. And I haven't looked through this list either, but that's essentially what she's included on this, is just some comparable homes.
They were on St. Charles Place, Coronado, 14th Street. And so did you use these comparables or this new list that you just gave me?
So it's a little different we do mass appraisal. You're probably more familiar with a fee appraisal type appraisal. If you were to refinance your home or purchase a home, a fee appraisal is ordered by a bank or your lender, and they'll go through and compare your home to maybe 4 to 6 really specific comparable homes, and they'll give like a give and take process. We do things a little different where we're mass appraisal. So we're not actually valuing your home based on a small group of sales. We're using every sale of every like home in the county each year. Really, this isn't intended to give you specific comparisons to these specific homes or to the specific homes on that initial list that you had. Really, what we're just trying to do is find some homes that are similar in quality, condition, size, and go off of those, essentially just to give an idea of what your typical dollar per square foot from the sales are. Again, none of these are specific homes that we've used to compare to determine your value. Essentially, we use all of the sales to come up with the value, and then what we're doing here is essentially trying to give an idea of what the market has done, what the typical dollar per square foot is, to kind of give you an idea how we arrived at the value. But none of these are specific homes that we've pulled. Again, maybe that is what you're kind of probably more familiar with, the fee appraiser, where they're really just looking at your home compared to a small group of sales, and that's not what we've done in mass appraisal.
Okay, so you're comparing with all over the county.
We're comparing sales of similar homes across the county. Now, obviously, in your instance, we're probably not going to compare your home to a home sitting out on, several acres of land, or we may not compare your home to a home in Iona or in Swan Valley. We're going to compare you to other city style homes in a subdivision, try to find similar quality, similar size, similar style, condition homes.
Have you made any changes in your appraisal process in the last 5 years or 10 years?
I guess in regards to what? So this is the process that we've used for the last 20 years that I've been here. Now, obviously, when we have a market like we currently have, we have a tremendous amount of sales, so we have a better indication of what the market is. But the process that we use hasn't changed for well more than, maybe 18 years ago, we use a different software, but the process is essentially the same.
Okay, so appraisal of my home would be similar to what you used 20 years ago.
Yes.
It would be.
Process-wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Market is dependent on current sales.
Well, let's take a look. I bought my house over 20 years ago, and I've been paying taxes on it ever since. And during the 20 years, let's go from 2000 to 2019. Let's take a look. Over that 20 years, my property tax assessment have increased to $131,581. That's from Assessor records. That's an average of $6,579 per year. over a 20-year period. Now, this new assessment I got here, it increased $256 for a single year. $256, $250,000 in 1 year. Over a 20-year period, it increased at the rate of $6,500 per year. So suddenly my house is 62% larger, my lot is 62% larger, the age has become younger,
So
62%.
we haven't changed any of the size, the quality, the year built. We're truly just reflecting the current market. There haven't been any improvements. She hasn't made any changes. That's not why or she may, I'm not.
There was in 2018, there was a 10% adjustment that was put on for I guess it was a leaky roof or something to do with that. So since that time and time has passed, I went and took that 10% adjustment off. I received a home survey that stated that the only improvements that needed to be taken care of on the home was a back fence needs painting. So in that regard, it didn't mention that the roof still needed to be replaced or there was any damage from anything that he had done in 2018. So I went and removed that 10% adjustment. So that's why there's such a larger increase that you're seeing from those years that 10% was on there. The only other change that I made was that it had a large sprinkler and I lowered it to a medium per your lot size. So those are the only things I did that was not market based on your home.
Well, in 1 year, you can raise the assessment $250,000 as compared to the 20-year average of $6,000 a year.
Each year, your value should reflect the current market value of the home. So I'm sure over that 20 years, you saw an increase. You probably saw a brief period of time with a decrease, and then again, an increase.
That's right.
To reflect the current market. So
Well,
the
that's
value.
why I say I averaged out over the 20
Right.
years and it was 6,000.
So each year, as you've seen value increases and decreases, it should reflect that current market. And the significant increase you saw this time was, one, it includes the removal of an adjustment that had been added and left on your home for a number of years for the roof. Now that issue has seemingly been corrected,
Let's see, what was that adjustment?
is an adjustment for a leaking roof.
For some water damage from a leaking roof in 2018.
Okay.
So that adjustment has remained. So the state requires each county to reappraise 20% of the county each year, re-physically inspect 20% of the county each year. This year it was your area's year for review, so she went through. That's why that adjustment rolled off. And then in addition to that adjustment being rolled off, you did see a market increase. So it is reflecting the current market, what your home in its current condition could sell for today.
How does this market compare with 2019?
Homes are selling for more today than they were in 2019.
How much more?
On average, it's last year from that 19 to 20, I think it was about a 12% or an 18% increase. From 20 to 21, it was roughly a 20 to 25% increase, and from 21 to 22 is roughly 45 to 50%.
Okay. Now, what accounts for the sudden increase? What is your explanation? Because this market was much different than it was 2 years ago.
I mean, I have my opinions. In my opinion, the factor driving the market value up is there's not enough supply for the demand. Essentially, there's not enough homes for sale for the amount of people pouring into the area. I truly can't tell you why. I obviously have my my opinions on why, but ultimately, we're following the market. Whatever the homes are selling for, that's where we're required to have the value. For whatever reason, that's what they're selling for.
But you don't wonder why?
I have my opinions.
What is your opinion?
My opinion is that there's not enough homes in the area for the amount of people
And
coming
why
into
is
it.
that?
We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. what
We
we,
have 4 minutes left, but
what
let me
we
offer
need-
you a suggestion.
yeah, what we need from you is if you've got any other sales, because when I look at these comparables that they use, they've got your average square foot cost of $186 on your appraisal. The average of all of the other sales was $229. So, based on that, you're about 15 or 20% below the average per square foot cost of homes your size that are selling for that.
Well, what I'm suggesting to you is there a factor that is being ignored. I don't know for what reason, but this factor is the virus that killed thousands of people in Idaho, hundreds of thousands in the US, and millions elsewhere. Now, I'm suggesting to you that this affected the market in our real estate. It cut down the amount of houses for sale, and it cut down the number of buyers. People did not want to list their home because they didn't want a bunch of buyers trooping through. People wearing masks with COVID. People were dying from it. So this, I think, was a severe factor in what happened to the market. I've watched it. I've talked to people that have been in real estate for 20 years or more, and he's never seen anything like it before. So this is a once-in-a-century virus. It totally impacted all of us, and especially in the real estate market. So this is why you got such distorted values on homes selling when you were using 2021 and 2020 comparables. What I'm suggesting to you is I think you've heard quite a bit from people here. We've ignored the virus factor. We've used these inflated numbers from this virus period in coming up with these comparables. They don't match up with anything that we saw in 2019 and years before the virus. Now, what I'm saying to you is a statistical Frankenstein has been unleashed on the citizens of Bonneville County and other counties as well. And in terms of what you can do about it, all I hear is excuses. Well, we have to follow this rule, that rule, the state law, and so forth. But this is an opportunity for you to prevent a financial disaster for so many citizens in this county. We've heard all kinds of excuses why we can't do anything, but many elderly people are worrying that they're going to lose their homes, they're going to lose their life savings because of what's going to happen to the taxes. Now, we have no mechanism for appealing our taxes. We have to appeal the assessment. But you can't tell me if you improved the assessment, raised it 62%, that wouldn't increase my taxes. It certainly isn't going to lower them, is it?
No, we need to wrap this up, but yes.
Okay,
it
well,
does-
the
it does
responsibility
increase your
is
tax.
on you as commissioners in this county
And we
to
don't
do a
view-
job to protect the taxpayers.
And we
in
don't
this
view
city.
upholding the Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho as excuses. We look at it as something we raised our arm to the square and swore to do. It's just like in any court, these are kind of a quasi-judicial, and we're bound to uphold the laws that we have, whether we agree with them or disagree.
Well, what have you done to protest it?
We've talked to our legislators, they set the laws. We're doing everything we can to keep our budgets low, but we still need to get back to the fact.
Well, the
and
way you're assessing, there's a flaw in it, and you haven't accounted for the virus
if you
factor.
look at 2022 sales are actually higher. It's supply and demand.
Yes, the market is starting to come out, but you're using the comparables
Can I
of
ask you a question?
2021.
What were you paying for $1 or for a gallon of gas 2 years ago?
The gasoline has nothing to do with
It's the
this.
same thing, supply and demand.
This is real property,
I
the
know.
other one is a gasoline thing that, again, someone needs to show leadership and take care of this problem, because you don't understand how many people out there, you've already heard that just a few of them. Most people are scared to death out there, particularly the elderly. The first-time home buyers can't buy homes. And what are you going to do about it?
Well, what we're going to do in this hearing is try to determine what the market value is. And do you have any other sales that would indicate, actual sales that would indicate the value is too high? Actual sales.
Well, frankly, that's an excuse
Okay,
to pass the buck to somebody
I
else.
take that as a no, okay?
Mr. Chairman, based on the information that we've heard, I would motion that we approve the assessor's value. I see no fault in that.
Compare it with your prior years, and you'll see what
Okay,
I'm
we have a
talking
motion
about.
and a
Now, in case, if you'd like to, some notes that I wrote, if you'd like
We would like those
if
for
you'd
the
like to
record.
care enough to read them, I would appreciate it.
Okay, and we will also, we're upholding this, but we'll give you a form that you can appeal and make the same argument to a state board of tax appeals right here. You don't have to travel anywhere, but it'll give you the instructions.
Okay,
I would suggest you come up with actual sales to document your case, because that's what we're gonna look at.
and again, you've missed my point.
No, I heard your point, I just don't agree with it, so.
Well, I suggest you, here's a remedy for you to consider. I wrote at the end here a suggestion to do this, to go back to your appraisals 2019 and use them until you can come up with new ones outside of the virus period.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, in the old days when Frankenstein went out on the communities, the community reacted by taking pitchforks. So you're safe from that.
Yes,
This is the contact information for your legislators. They're the ones who can change the tax laws. And those are the people that we lobbied with for the last year to affect changes, because
Yeah.
we're all senior citizens. We all have kids or grandkids that are first-time home buyers. So we understand exactly, my home went up more than yours. The valuation went up a higher percentage than yours. I'm almost 7% increase over last year.
okay.
But these are the folks that can fix the tax law.
Well, I
So,
understand
talk to
that.
them.
I'll make the same point to you. We need to stick with this because we have several of these this afternoon, so.
But did
Thanks
you,
for
did
coming
you
in.
consider the virus factor in here?
But
We have to follow the law.
we have to follow the market, and the houses are selling for that.
Some houses are selling,
Some houses are
but my
selling,
house didn't sell.
some houses
And
are
most of my
selling.
neighbors,
for a
they
lot
did not
more.
sell their homes either. So that's only in effect for the people that sold their homes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for listening.
Okay. This is for the Mesno Terrain Trust, is that correct? Correct. Okay. And it's on 2023 Point Hunter Lane.
Correct.
Where's that?
That's the new phase of the Brookside subdivision.
Brookside. Okay, Mr. Manwaring, have you been to a Board of Equalization prior to this?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the process.
Yeah.
We'll go through, each year the assessor is required to appraise properties at current market value based on the 2020 sales. The value was on January 1st, 2021.
2022.
22. Yeah, okay, I lose track. And so we'll give you an opportunity to come up with any reasons you feel that it's there, to either comparable sales that show that it's out of the market value, or conditions of the house that you think it's under. We'll come to a conclusion today. You'll have the opportunity to appeal our decision. If we make it, you don't agree with it, we'll provide you with the form so you can appeal it to the State Board of Tax Appeals, which appeals here. I probably don't need to explain the term de novo when they come here, but if there's any additional information we have to make this based on the information we've received here. You get the opportunity to bring in new evidence for the state for tax appeal. So this one, you say the market value is $550,000.
Correct.
And the assessor's office is defending a value of $660,336. Okay, who wants to go first? What would you prefer? Would you have, like, have?
Well, let them go first, and then I'll tell you where they're at. It's off the wall.
So I'm gonna start with this home is an estimated value. It was new construction in 2020.
Okay.
The previous appraiser who put it on is no longer with us. She sketched and inventoried from her building plans. I sent out a letter in August to request to get in because it was an estimated value and I never got a response. So when I reappraised it, I made no changes to what she had done.
Never received a letter from you, but anyway.
We mail them out for each area that's up for review. The estimated values get a letters asking to let us come in and get a correct inventory and measurements. The other ones that have been, had an appraiser in them, get just a survey.
Anything else?
And this home is 2,890 square feet with 810 in the basement.
Yeah, it does have a smaller basement than others. It has about 300 square foot bonus room above the garage. We did some calculations because we didn't have another comparable with that small of a basement.
Okay. Go ahead, Kip.
All right. Well, I brought for you my own information on actual properties that are in the area. I'll point out that the assessment is based on some comparables that aren't comparable in the least. The first couple of them, first three of them, in fact, are all right within the Brookside subdivision. The comparable, first one is 4560 Stanfield Lane. That is a two-story home with a full basement. It has far more square footage than the home that's in this trust. And it has 6 bedrooms, 3 baths. The home that's in the trust has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
Okay, which address did you say?
I'm looking at your comparables here. I'm just pointing them out to begin with.
This is the comparable that she's presenting today. This is the package she's presenting today. So
This is what you sent me.
Right, that was the initial
Yeah.
before we have more time to prepare. So we have,
You want to review those in the
yeah,
packet?
there's another spreadsheet in there of other comparables.
the challenge we face during our period of time of appeals is we have a significant amount of people coming in, and oftentimes we're going through our initial survey of sales essentially. We don't have a tremendous amount of time to really narrow in on some sales. So it's meant to be a kind of a broad idea what the market's doing.
Right.
And then in between our appeals closing date and our BOE hearings, we generally have more opportunity to go in and look a little more fine-tooth detail.
Right. I'd be glad to address those. Again, all of these that are on this comparable I can look at right now and tell you that they are grossly unequal to the house that the trust has. These aren't even comparables. I mean, that's not even close, square footage wise, or the nature of the house or its location. Back on the original comparables they have, the first 3 that I mentioned to you are all in the Brookside subdivision. Every one of them exceed the number of bedrooms, square footage, and baths that the house of the trust is in. And yet they're being used as comparables for the trust property without any explanation as to why that is. I've already spoken with them and said that your reliance upon past sales, particularly in the time period that is shown here, beginning with the one on Stanfield, is an aberration in sales. And I think everybody has to acknowledge that. I recognize that your law says you have to have something done by the January 1st, but it doesn't say that you have to rely upon sales only. You can also look at the cost approach, which is part of the requirement by IDAPA. None of that was done here. Instead, they just simply said, we're going to increase your taxes. And the increase in taxes is substantial. You go over $30,000 in increase in value in 1 year. And that's unsustainable by any approach. Now, I provided to you actual documentation of properties currently for sale, all within 1 to 2 blocks of the house that the trust sits on. And I provided to you the square footage. These are all on that listing service, on the multiple listing service, the same service the assessor's office uses to obtain their comparables. And I show you the price per square foot.
These are not sales, they are.
These are not sales, these are offers for sale right now with sale price listed.
Of course, you know, we have to use last year's value.
And sales.
Oh, I know you have to
Sales.
rely upon some comparables to last year's value. You don't have to rely upon last year's values. That's pretty plain in the law.
So we have to assess your home on what it was valued.
Last year.
Last year.
Right, but that's not just comparable sales. The income approach, the cost approach is still part of the approach that you take in making these assessments. Everybody here should recognize that last year you had a strange uptick in property valuations for a period of several months that is no longer there. The hot seller's property is passed. And beyond that, you now have a situation where not only are the property values either holding or declining, but it's no longer a seller's market.
Which will reflect in next year's
Now,
assessment.
but you don't have to ignore that. I mean, we don't sit here in a vacuum and say, well, we can only think about what the sales were last year. That's not how you look at this. The IDAPA guides and the state statute make it pretty plain that you're looking at both a cost analysis as well as a market value analysis. And if your market value is changed by an aberration, you have to take that into consideration.
Can you refer to a statute that says
Sure.
you can use?
Idaho Code 63205, Idaho Code 63208, and IDAPA Rules 3501.03217 that relate to Idaho Code 63208, and all the appraisal procedures that are followed in there, and the appraisal approaches given by IDAPA 350103.217 sub 2 are 3 approaches will be considered on all property. Sales comparison approach, cost approach, income approach. One of them doesn't control the others.
But you said we can't consider current sales at current trends and look back on it.
I think you can look at the cost approach when you're looking at current sales to see what the value is of property as it relates to property in this area over a given time. If you look at, for example, on Kayla Lane, which is a property that the assessor's office knows, that's been on the market since before January 1. So that was a comparable that they could have used. $634,000. 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3,600 square foot.
One problem that I see is they use actual sales. They don't use what's on the market, so they couldn't use that because it wasn't a sale.
Oh, I understand that, but it was a property that had a value before January 1 that they could have looked at from a cost approach and didn't. The sales they looked at, I pointed out to you, don't even compare. They're comparing apples to oranges here.
let's go to this list, because these are similar sized homes. If you look at the square footage, basement square footage, total square footage.
Again, you're looking at different homes. Look at where these areas are.
Right.
These aren't comparable properties. You couldn't compare these in an appraisal and come out and say that these are comparable properties.
So I'm not sure where these are. These are not in the same area.
So Camora Loma is up on the hill. Kings Island isn't, but it's in a city subdivision. It's north of town near the golf course. This lot isn't on the golf course. The 55th West, South 55th West is going to be.
It's out west of town.
Solstice is just kind of down the road, a little bit further down, and then Lazy 8 is just right around the corner.
Lazy 8 estates is estates that are on huge lots.
And
They're not on quarter-acre lots. And Solstice is on larger lots. And this is in a subdivision that's known for having large homes with large square footage and value. You can't compare these. I mean, they're not even comparables.
So the challenge we have we have removed the land value when we're determining our square footages to account for some of that discrepancy. These homes, the reason that she's pulled these homes is they are of like quality, similar year built, similar size.
They're not. They're bigger, and they're in locations that are different in property size and in the ambient value of the locations. You can't tell me that a Solstice subdivision is the same as a Brookside subdivision.
I look at the one on Big Bend. Big Bend's bigger. It's got 20, I mean, this is bigger than Big Bend. This value, 2890 square feet without the bonus room, with the bonus room, 810 square feet in the basement. That house has a total square footage of 22 and 18. So they're similar size. The one on Big Bend's probably slightly bigger.
I'd like to see how many bedrooms that has. I'd like to see how many baths it has.
See, and my challenge, I guess, is I look at some of the comparables that you have, and while they may be nearer the Brookside subdivision, I do question the comparison of the two. The quality does not seem to be the same. You know, maybe a couple of these, but some of these look like much more scaled down.
The quality is the same because you're looking at, for example, on the second page, 2030 Irene Lane. You can't say that's unlike quality.
Right, and I'm not questioning the quality.
7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms.
So we're looking at more than size and bedroom count.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm telling you, when you're looking at on just sales comparisons, what your two are doing, you have to look at cost approach as well.
So we factor cost in when we're determining our value for new construction.
Well, you may have, but you didn't do it in comparing what this value was, because you said this has a $130,000 increase from last year. 1 year alone, $130,000 increase. That can't be substantiated by any facts you have.
It's purely driven by the market.
That isn't the market. The market doesn't even show that.
Well, take a sheet of OSB, was selling for $76, used to be selling for $17. When we built our house, it's up to $76. That factors
Maybe,
into the cost.
but it's not.
That's a cost.
Well, it is a cost. And so why isn't this a cost? If you're gonna start looking at that, look at all of them for cost wise. No, you need to as well. If you're gonna start looking at what cost is, let's not pretend that we're gonna just look at one thing and ignore everything else. These are actual costs. They might not be actual sales, but they're actual costs.
Generally, what we look at are what a house sells for, because all of those factors go into it. The demand, the cost of the house, building it, there's a bunch of different factors. So when I look at these comparables, and let's talk the dollar per square foot, because that should give you a pretty fair idea of what the cost is. The home you're defending is $189 a square foot average. The ones above it, the average square foot, well, there's a 286, 318, 319, 303, 291, for an average of 304. You're a third below the average.
But you can't look at that way because you're looking at a house that has something besides just square footage. You're looking at rooms. You're looking at the valuation of the property. You're looking at what kind of home it provides. You can't just look at square footage. If we're doing that, then let's just call a contractor and say, today or last year, even better, what's the cost for building a home that's comparable to this trust home? And then you have an actual valuation. I've given you the square footage here. It's not even close to any of these because it's actually based on cost.
See, and I feel like we're doing it, we are looking at more than square footage. We are actually, these comparables are similar quality and condition, year, built, and size. And while I'm not questioning all of the comparables that you've listed, while the square footage may be there, there are certainly some of these that aren't the same quality.
Show me which one.
I mean, I think if you look at 2117 or 1934 Harrington, I think if you look at 3899 Harrington, while these may be closer, I do question.
2117 is just around the corner from me.
Right. And
Yeah,
At
they
the
may-
same time.
They may be
And
near, but the quality of construction isn't the same.
I don't know about that. It's the same kind of home. Look at the Harrington Road. There's a bunch of those homes going in over there. But you're looking at the price per square foot. See, you keep trying to tell me you can't look at price per square foot unless it's only your comparables.
What I'm
And
saying
I'm
is,
telling you, when you're looking at the cost basis, which is one of the established factors for comparing valuations, you're not examining cost basis. You're looking at this saying, well, then it's $304 per square foot everywhere. And it isn't.
we are looking.
You can't tell me that it is.
So the difference is that the cost basis for a simple, basic home with laminate flooring and formica countertops, the cost of building that home is significantly less than building a home. The cost to build a home that is much nicer trim, much nicer finishes,
Yeah.
granite
And it's less cost if you have 3 bedrooms than if you have 6 or 5. It's less cost if you have a 2.5 baths instead of 3 or 4.
So what we try to do is compare the cost of similar homes rather than compare the cost of a home that the quality isn't the same.
Yeah, but these are the similar ones, and that's what I'm showing you. Look at Irene Lane.
And again,
The cost per square foot is $160.
so again, the challenge that we face is one, that these are listings, and two,
Yeah, I know they're listings. I've already told you they're listings. And I'm telling you, there's a cost basis that you look at. What you're telling me is, there is no way that this house is worth less than $660,000 because you made an assessment based upon 1 year of comparables that aren't comparables, and you came up with $130,000 in increased value. Look at your property valuation alone. A residential lot gone up over $30,000 almost. I have empty lots all around that subdivision. They're still the same price.
Well,
I mean,
we've got the next
let's
one.
make sure we got this
Let's
clear
wrap-
here when we're talking about apples and apples.
Let's wrap this up because what I'll summarize the way I see. You're asking us to go off of listings, off of this year's comparables versus actual sales, which I can't agree to do because the mass appraisal says you will assess properties valued as of January 1st last year. And that's what these were written. Otherwise, you end up with a fluid thing that's, these sales are gonna change all year long, and they're gonna come out on next year's values. And at that point, I agree with you. I think the market has flattened off and may go down. But those will be reflected based on the sales of this coming year.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But
We'll wait to see that.
we'll wait and see.
But I'll summarize for you our position.
Okay,
That position is you're relying upon comparables that are not comparables. They are not in any factor comparables. You're relying upon properties that are larger properties, different cost valuation, different square footage combinations. I'm showing you actual comparables for the cost analysis approach, which you are not doing. And that cost analysis is just as valid as last year's sales.
And I'm going to disagree with you on that point, because you're still relying on future.
I rely on cost.
Yeah, and the mass appraisal is a general appraisal too. When I look at these, they're homes of similar size, not bigger, not small, similar size, similar quality, and looking upon the cost per square foot, you know, I see that they've put this value on there that's about 30% lower than the others average, and I think there's enough margin for error for what you're talking about. So I'm going to suggest we uphold and give the opportunity to take your argument to the state. I'll second that. Okay, done. Okay, all in favor? We'll give you the form that you can file.
We'll file them.
And what I would suggest is you give the breakdowns of some of these, not just a listing price, but quality and things like that. And I think they'll actually help you get those in the assessor's office.
Oh, I will. I'll bring in the contractor, in fact, we'll get this thing solved, so. If you'll give me the forms, please.
Okay, so we'll have to get them prepared, they'll come in the mail.
Have a great second.
Thank you, okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, they're back to that.
Why did you choose this comparable instead of the house right next door, similar style and so forth? It's sold for 50. Say, look at these comparables on this list. There's the two houses on Woodhaven.
So one thing that I can see is that your square footage is 3,000, and these are significantly smaller homes. And these are all around that 3,000, 26, 27, 29, 31, 32, 28. These are all around the 2,500. So my assumption is that's why.
Look,
Why don't we have, you're welcome to come into the office and we can dive into it.
okay, but you see what I'm talking about? One sold in June for 540,000. The other one in May for 75. These are virtually identical houses. One has more basement. The other one has more garage. How come the 540,000 is not selected when you have?
Because the 540,000 one is 600 square feet smaller. 500 square feet smaller than your home.
Good to see you.
Well, they're both compared to my home, but there's one is sold for a cheaper price.
So this group of cells is more comparable. These are more like size. These are much smaller homes on this list.
They're not, I've been.
Yeah, she's not our secretary. And again, we can have this
How
conversation.
are
I'm sorry, so we don't have an opportunity.
The houses are side by side.
We'll have to discuss it.
Instead of choosing this 540,000,
The 540,000 house was 500 square feet small. Significantly small.
chose the other one.
Which house do we do first?
Yeah, let's just get Roger, just walking in. Yeah, which one do you want to do first?
Good to see you.
It's always a pleasure. Like we got the 9L on top. We got two of them. We're gonna start with this one.
Okay, Dane, I know you've been here before, so you understand the process. What we're here to determine is what your house would sell for in the current market. Simple as that. You apparently disagree with the value they put on. The first one we have is 2242 South Boulevard. Is that your house?
Yes.
The personal house? The assessor is defending the value of $647,646, and you think it's worth $463,397, correct?
Or less. Yes.
And remember, we appreciate the concern about property taxes, but the Board of Equalization hearing is to find out what the actual market value of your house is. So,
Yes.
tell us what what has happened to the house in the last year that makes you feel like it's?
I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon. I want you to know that I'm, as I said in the past, kind of a voice in the wild. We want to let you know our concern for the increases that's taking place. I know you want to have the equalization throughout the county, and I also want that. I'm not having opposition to pay taxes, but I cannot see the increase in this particular home that we've had, since the last 40 years. It's been our home, and as you know, the record will show that it was built 1949. There hasn't been any changes to the house. It's all original. There's been no remodel per se, and no walls changed, no bathrooms changed.
Can I interrupt you for just a second, because looking at this sheet, they've apparently reviewed this and have proposed a valuation of $593,038.
I did offer him that, I haven't
Yeah.
heard back on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And I forget the reason for that.
So the reason why I offered that adjustment, not that I necessarily feel that it's warranted, but our dollar per square foot, when we go to look at the sales for 2021, all of my 2 stories are smaller. So where I don't have a sale that I can say, yes, it would sell for this, that's why I offered that adjustment.
And the 2 stories you're comparing with?
So those are the biggest ones I could find that are that within that time.
$146 a square foot. And his is about $138 a square foot.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make that so they weren't still defending the higher value.
That's about a $54,000 adjustment, which I appreciate. But the challenge I face as a homeowner is the value's doubled in the last 5 years, and I just feel like there's nothing changed. It's nothing new in our location. Just this past year, even with that $54,000 decrease, it still goes up $130,000 in 1 year. And so that's my concern as a homeowner. It's hard to see where that justification could be. I know it's a pretty aggressive market now, in the county, but in our particular instance, I think I can't see where it should double in 5 years. We're going 329,000 to 593,000. That's a $264,000 increase, and it's the same house. We have a roof that needs to be repaired. I talked about it last year. We haven't done it. I don't know if there's an adjustment for that. But it was hurt during the hailstorm a couple of years ago.
Is it leaking?
Yes.
Is there adjustment?
So all the adjustments were removed from the house for this year. We had talked about the condition. Condition was actually lowered to an average condition. And in talking to him, we didn't talk about any damage when you were in my office. But I explained the difference in the condition factors. A good condition would be like a well-maintained one, not that you remodel, but that's just, you're keeping it kept.
How bad is the roof leaking?
We've had to do some repairs, at least down in the attic portion, and so it's had to come down to the second floor. That we've had to replace insulation and things like that. So it's because of the hailstorm.
Do you go up and just do spot repairs instead of replacing the roof?
Well, we have the authorization. We haven't done it yet, but because I want to see what happens here. But the whole roof needs to be replaced. So I think it's about $45,000. I didn't bring that figure here, but that's one of the reasons, we haven't done it, because it's a lot of money, but it does need to be replaced. And
When was that roof put on?
Oh,
How old is that?
It's when I think we did that when we bought it in '82.
82.
Yeah,
So that's 40 years.
Yeah, it's the same house that was built in 49, there's nothing different, I mean, we haven't remodeled anything, that's why, I look at I have some confidentiality agreements with the purchase price that we bought, but I see the purchase price, and I see this value today, $593,000, I tell you, guys, we didn't pay $593,000 for it. And I just appreciate what you gentlemen do, and I know it's not easy. I look at the homeowners exception, what's happened to that? That thing was automatic when I was in the Senate. That thing was helping homeowners, and I don't think anything's happened in the last few years. You tell me what the prospect on that is, but we take the homeowners exception on this, which we appreciate, but I don't see any daylight on that increasing. I don't know what the prospect is for next year. But
Are you familiar with this house on 11th Street?
is that the McDermott house?
It's in this packet right here.
Yeah,
That's a similar home.
the other one's is Woody Arrington's home. What's that?
Let's talk about.
I'm not too familiar with it. It's 4039. I think that's,
It's about
was that the,
15 or 20% smaller, and it sold for $525,000, June of 2021.
how much?
525.
That's on that front page for you.
The front page,
Mhm.
yeah.
Of course, these are actual sales.
Yeah,
See, and that's about 150 square feet on the first floor smaller.
yeah, I didn't see the prices that right. I just wrote it down 525 on that.
It's about 600 square feet smaller than yours.
Yeah,
You say Woody Arrington's is on Center.
That's your second one.
yeah. It's, I know Woody and his family, he's built a lot of buildings around.
That's 24.
How much did that sell for?
That's 2,400 square feet.
450,000 in that one.
Yeah,
And
and that's square feet large.
And 1,000 square feet less.
Yeah,
and then the other 191 11th Street.
yeah. That's Tom Lyle's home.
Been around a long time, Dane. You
Yeah,
know everybody.
well, if you live long enough.
See, that's smaller than yours. That's very close to the other 11th Street, and that's sold for 440,000. And how much smaller is that than yours? 1,000 square feet.
1,000 square feet smaller.
So that's a third. Yours is about a third bigger than those.
Yeah,
Those have an average square foot price of 146, and yours, she has it on 137. The only thing I question is the leaky roof. You gotta get up there.
So I would say with an average condition, that shows signs of deferred maintenance, especially for a house built in 1949. It would be getting a depreciation factor for those things. We do have an adjustment that wasn't removed, that was missed on the garage. It's not giving him that much, it's 1,745 in value off of the garage. When I talked to him, and we talked about the maintained home and things like that, we didn't discuss a leaking roof. So has it been replaced, like,
No.
has it been fixed as far as what was damaged?
I think it was about a $45,000 bill. And that's one of the reasons we haven't done it yet. I'm asking this group, we're considered average, or are we down the fair yet? I think.
Not on the
What would it take for you good men to put us down to the fair?
It would make your house be barely livable.
I would just say you'd have to be less exceptional if you were gonna call it fair.
That's what fair is, it's barely livable.
Is it? I don't know the difference. We're not good, we're average.
would, what type of adjustment have we done in the past for a roof damage?
You know, he's had several adjustments on the house over the years. I went through and did a history on it. None of them were put on there for a leaking roof. We had an obsolescence on there. We've had an overbuilt on there. He's not overbuilt for the area by any means. That both houses on either side are bigger. As far as a leaking roof, typically, and Dustin, you can weigh in this, I think we only offer like a 5% typically.
Yeah, but
The 10% I'm offering is pretty much above and beyond just a leaking roof. It's just a kind of.
Include the leaking roof and things.
Yeah, because I think the original value you had, I mean, it's quite a bit higher than the comparables that we have.
It
Per
is.
square foot.
It is,
And
but
so
it's
I
also
think
got a
that
lot more in
what you
size.
proposed brings it in line.
so it's interesting, if you take the average at 146 and you multiply that by,
That's what I was just calculating.
you come up to
5% below the average.
yeah. I mean, we're already,
You're looking at the same square foot numbers as you adjusted that.
Yeah.
so if you,
45% lower.
yeah, and if you take that average of the comps and you multiply it, and you factor that, the value comes in at 627, so you're given $30,000, well, $34,000 already of an adjustment.
It's just hard for me to have confidence in these where they're so different, you know. so
Size-wise, they
smaller.
are different, yes.
Yeah, and that makes it
We
hard for
have
me
homes that
to.
are the same size throughout the county that have sold. The problem is they're much newer. So using those as far as
Throws it too
comparison,
high.
yeah. So we tried to go with the older side of the homes. You'll note the closest one in your build is the one on Saturn, but then you lose the square footage, it's 1,000 square feet less.
We're about 3/4 of the century, about 70 some odd years old.
I would also assume if this was in a good condition, if you were factoring in the fact that it's a well-maintained home, taking that roof out of consideration, if it reached that threshold of good condition rather than average condition, it's gonna be a significant value decrease.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, the difference in good.
She's got the actual
So if I
calculator.
put it in good condition, it raises it from the 647 up to 784.
$140,000 for that condition factor. And obviously, that's not all roof, but a portion of that will be. So it's already, that condition factor is already accounted for a bit.
That's kind of what I was trying to explain.
What do you call that $54,000 adjustment? What do you call that?
Overbill.
Overbill?
It's an RDF factor is basically,
Yeah.
and that's just saying that I don't have sales that were that old as far as time year built that were in your square footage range.
Your home is unique in that for its age, when it was built, it was much larger than a lot of the homes built at that time. And during this period of time, we don't have a lot of sales of comparable homes. Maybe in years past or in future years, we may have more sales of similar homes, but at this point,
It's
we're
kind of unique, isn't it?
I can
49.
I can understand your concern with the increased values. We're hearing that from a lot of homeowners. We all own homes and have seen this similar increase on our homes, and it was shocking to us when we got them. It's been a year, 2021, when those increases were just shocking,
Yeah.
right? Because of all the people moving in and the low demand or the low inventory of houses, it really caused terrible inflation on these homes.
Yeah.
But I don't really, with where she's already done the adjustment to 137 a square foot, it seems like that's in line, and I believe that you could sell your home for that. And so I would have to recommend that we uphold the assessor's value.
The proposed value, right?
The proposed value of 593, we'll make that adjustment that they offered you.
Okay,
That would be my motion.
and I'll vote in favor of that, because I'm becoming intimately familiar with this home. How many years has this been we've seen you on this?
Every year, since we owned it. Not quite that many,
But it's so good to see you again.
yeah, I love seeing you guys. You do a great job. I went to drug court yesterday with my son, seeing what he does. And I can get my certificate too, you know. So see what I can do here.
I've witnessed him in that drug court too, and he has some real talent there.
Yeah,
He really
yeah.
helps.
It's amazing what they accomplish, and it was a pleasure to see what goes on in there. And I think it'd be good for every citizen in this community to take an hour to do that once.
Yeah. Let's go back up to the adjusted value of the home.
So,
About 93, oh,
517, 248.
Okay, let's see. Five. Okay, that's good. Oh, there's an outbuilding too.
So just under that category, the 41H,
Okay,
that's gonna change to
that's what's changed.
517, 248.
And the other stays the same.
Yes. So if you add that 75, 790, that should give you the 593 or 38.
Okay,
10th Street, is that our next one?
now you're next one.
Yeah, I appreciate your help on that. That's, I couldn't buy Sherry's original home. We just saw 69,000 increase on that one. It only has one bathroom and nothing's changed on that one either. It's gone up, 132,000 since 2016. And I know you got your reasons for increasing it, but I want to see it triple that short of time, since 2016, it's, it's 81,000 now. They're proposing 213,000. And it's not very, it's just one bathroom, the basement was partially finished, but not very much, and we just wondered, if you have the Christmas spirit on this one.
Well, some of these sales are right around Christmas, so let's look.
Yeah.
I show, and here they have some very similar sized properties and sales very close in the area. You have sales of 245, 250, 245, 285, and 245. Have you got one of these showing the houses in the neighborhood and what they sold for?
I appreciate Kathy's effort. She's been good to work with.
So I'm actually not the appraiser of either of his houses, but
Another
he
appraiser.
came in and he spoke with me and
Again, this is shocking. So that home would be $322 a square foot, sold for that.
Is that on the third page?
Yeah, that's the Third Street. On
13th
13th Street,
Street.
it just shocks me. That would
And
sell, and that's an actual sale.
So on all of these, I actually went in, we're trying to stay within that condition factor of these homes. So I went in full sales increase of each one of these. I was very selective as far as like trying to get as close to where that house is. I was able to full sales within a year or next year being year ago. So I mean, they all came in. The amount of sales we have are actually much.
It's more, I can't hear you.
So whereas your personal home is unique in that it's much larger for a lot of the homes there, this home is, luckily, we have a tremendous amount of sales that kind of fall in this range, so we have a great indication of what the value is.
We have bought it just recently, but it wasn't in that $200,000 category.
If I look at the per square foot cost of the sales, it's an average 271, they've got here's a 214 per square foot. I don't think I've ever raised one.
No.
But this would make an argument that they've got it valued a lot lower than the sales.
Let's not argue that.
It looks to me like they've got this one probably undervalued, so again, I would recommend that we uphold that value.
Yeah.
And I'll agree. But again, it's good to see you you, Dave.
Yeah, I appreciate telling it. You know, that is the voice of the wilderness trying to think against me, that's what I do with Joe Biden in the White House. But I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
What's our next one?
Could you make a note that I was given wrong comparables?
You could, but I'd suggest you get those comps and give them to state. We have it based on what was here, so it's a simple process, very similar to this one.
Oh, I know the process.
Okay, and they'll help you look up the numbers and the comparables and everything if you want.
Well, I wasted a lot of time checking out the wrong comparables.
Yeah.
And so nothing is going forward on this, on my appeal.
You'll have to fill in the form to appeal.
They'll mail them to you.
Yeah, once it's closed, we can't reopen it, so.
Thank you for all your help, guys. We appreciate having this nice audience here.
Hey, thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your hand too.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Dave, come on up.
We've got two of them here.
Yeah, two different. Well, there's 5 different lots that are the same.
Some number lots and homes or home.
So the one I just passed out is for the lots.
That's
Start with those first.
There's
there's 5 lots.
I just passed out one on what I have for the lots, so I'm gonna start with those then.
I've got one with 6 on the lots.
5 parcels.
Next to it.
Which one do you want to start with?
You start there.
We'll pass out the other
Yeah,
one.
let's get Commissioner Walters.
Wait to pass out the other one until.
You're ready?
Yes.
You Dustin? Okay. Talk on the phone, now we're in face.
Yeah. That's one I passed out first, so I'll just pass out.
Okay, Dave, the first one is 5 parcels on Crestwood Lane.
Start with that one?
Okay. Let me understand your explanation. So the road past these lots has not been accepted by Bonneville County. This was determined in 2014. Really, nothing has changed. That is a county road.
What's that?
That is a county road. Right there, Crestwood Lane is a maintained county road.
No, that's where we kind of beg to differ.
What do you beg to differ on? 'Cause
Well,
I've seen them out there patching it. They haven't rebuilt it because.
we're talking about the portion in front of my lots, not the part they have, portion in front of my lots. So the rest has been out there forever. I'll just-
So he was the one, when it was originally done, up to the very last of the houses was what was there originally, and then he put in the section from the end of the houses in front of those last 6 lots. He paid to put that in at that time. So there are,
That's city.
but it's county still. But the county did not, so what I have, I guess, if you want me to start.
Yeah.
It was up for review, so I looked at it, it was previously in non-buildable, so at that time I reached out to planning and zoning to verify if that was still true or if that had changed. And the documentation I was told was that they were considered buildable, that the 2 lowest lots that are backing George Washington Estates, are within the 300-foot requirement of the city utilities, so they would have to be annexed in and hooked up to those. So they have access to utilities, they didn't seem, I was told that they were buildable at the time, and so I raised them to a full value. And then when he came in, we discussed that further, that was still what I was told. So I had at the time, with the information I had, and discussing with my supervisors, said I would leave the bottom 2 at full value. I had offered to put the other 3 in undeveloped because the utilities were outside of that range. However, when I researched further and reached out to Public Works and things like that of the city, it would be of no cost to him to bring the utilities up to the lot just to connect as you would with any other property. So I could not offer that undeveloped value again, and where the city and the county have stated that they would issue permits on them. And then I have an email from Steve Browns and Lance Bates stating that it was accepted for maintenance, and they've been maintaining it.
Have you seen these two?
I've seen this, yes.
Okay. Or do you disagree?
Okay, well, I'd like to read a letter from my appeal in 2014. It's really short, and I'll just give you a copy of it. I think you can follow along if you want. Oh, and I want now, that's the last one. Yeah, it is, it's right here. It says, and I'll just paraphrase too, but in 1966, the plat for these lots was recorded. The road past the lots were never built, so the road just ended before those lots. We owned the property, I should say owned the property to the south and were trying to sell. As the city and county wouldn't build a road, and we had a good prospect promised to buy. We paved the road at our expense past these lots to get access. However, the promise wasn't honored and the money was spent not. Ourselves fell through and we didn't get it done. Bonneville County at the time had not accepted the road for maintenance. Without an accepted road, no building permits are allowed. That comes from Steve Sir, and then if you refer to the appeal, that was backed up in 2014. Steve Sir on that appeal. The lots were approved and the road was paved in 1966 standards just to get access. If and when the property is annexed, the road will have to be redone. I was told that when we did it, we decided it was worth the bet to try to sell our property to pave that road to those 1966 standards. That's what we did. We feel we greatly helped the county and city solve a substantial traffic problem in that area. And we didn't expect to thank you, but we did deserve a 120-fold increase in property tax deals about that. And so I appealed this appeal, and we won that appeal in 2014.
Do we have the record of that seal?
Not with me.
Now nothing's changed since 2014 on the matter. I mean, I'm as stuck in this land as you are. I mean, this is our retirement money, and it's just sitting there, and there's nothing we can do.
A lot of these changes, annex it.
Well, we
Well, at
can't
the time,
because
so,
you went down the road.
Even down the parts in front of the houses.
Okay. You have to annex, you have to improve it. You have to do a zoning change, because nobody's gonna want to build a single family house down there, and there's covenants that won't allow us to improve it and anything else.
There's also a reason the county has not approved that. And it's still a county accepted road, but as far as improving it, I don't know if you were here when one of our prior appellants, Kipp Manwaring, was here. When we were doing Sunnyside Road, he was the last.
Related to that.
He had the house on the corner, he was the last piece of property, other than stop the whole project, he negotiated that, the county would not, expand that road through there, take these trees
That
out
is
like that.
exactly why I can't get anything done, because of that deal that Kipp Manwaring made. So the county, you were there, and Radford was there, and he said, nobody wants to touch it, the city doesn't want to touch it, the county doesn't want to touch it, and so there it sits. And so we paved it just to those standards because we could get away with it.
Well,
And everybody kind of leaned and nodded and said, that's okay, we can do that.
that's the first section of that. You're talking about beyond that there were no homes built.
Right.
And we weren't gonna build that, to give access to the properties behind that were annexed into the city. And those are the responsibility of the developer.
They're still part of Brookhaven subdivision. That's my point, they're still part of Brookhaven subdivision, we can't do anything on those lots.
So they were in the city subdivision?
No, Brookhaven is the county subdivision.
so,
They're the same subdivision as Kipp's home is in.
this
They're not new
this
lots.
page kind of outlines, it's in there, what section is county, everything in blue is city, so it's surrounded. Those first two lots, the house we will discuss in a minute, and the one that Kipp Manwaring used to own, it has sold, he has sold it.
Right.
But it's and there's 6 lots that don't have homes on them, but he only has 5. That kind of shows where it's at.
It's prior to this, I think you're almost there. No, you're going. the opposite direction. It's forward, it's forward now, sorry.
Yeah.
And I might have a map of it, you know.
So we talked about these lots here.
Yeah, the 3 on the left side and the lower 2 on the right side.
And if as part of that subdivision, they could have built a house on them in the county still.
We don't have it, we don't. Based on current lands in Austin Black, planning and zoning, we have absolutely nothing that says it's not buildable.
It's a county subdivision, you could build a house on it.
Forgive me, I'm way out of my element here, and I'm really trying hard not to take this personally. I'm sure you see this all the time, but it's really hard. When we had this appeal in 2014, I met with Steve Sir, and Steve Sir says those roads haven't been, and it was almost a compromise, because this is the way we can fix this. That road has not been accepted, that hasn't been accepted, I'm not going to issue building permits. And that's how we were able to compromise on it and get it settled. Okay, so that happened in 2014. So when Haley discussed those offers, she said you reduce some of them, but some of them have access to the city. And so you have to hook up to the city services, and because there's city services there, you have to hook up. Well, you can hook up to city services if you annex and you go through public hearings and if you tear out the road and put it in your city roads. Yeah, you can get a building permit. If we do all those steps, develop the property. But as far as putting up a house right now, no, you can't. So she did agree to lower those others. So then I talked to Dustin, and Dustin said that's an easy fix. If you just verify to me that those lots are unbuildable and nothing's changed since 2014. Don't tell me I'm putting any words in your mouth.
Yeah.
And then we're done, everything's good. So that's what I did. So I went and met with Austin Black. And here's letters from Austin Black. And I'll read the highlighted part in yellow if you would. Please see this email thread about the road on Crestwood Lane. Because the road has not been accepted by the zoning office and the zoning office will not issue building permits on 6, 7, 8 blocks or block 1 or 2 until the road has been brought up to county standard and accepted by the county. That's where that stands right now. And then for some reason, this is where it's hard to take personal, that they didn't want to accept that. And so this is what Dustin asked me for, and I got it.
So I was CC'd on that email, and so I just reached out to him, who do I need to talk to, because I have conflicting information provided. So I just want to know who gets that final say, I guess. Because I have this that says otherwise, him saying this, different people saying different things. So he said I would have to discuss with Public Works and basically get that final decision. And I double checked with Dustin, who I'm supposed to listen to as far as what information I'm getting. So,
maybe I can ask you a question, like you're referring to an inter-office memo from Steve Rounds to Suzanne. That says the road has been completed. Now, I've been developing it a lot, but I haven't ever seen an acceptance of a road considered approved because there's a memo from Steve Rounds to Suzanne. They're discussing it with the assessor. And that memo from Steve Rounds to Suzanne saying, which is in your file, I should read it again because it's blood boiling, but that was before I appealed the assessment in 2014.
yes, it was for 2014.
And so that was all resolved in the 2014 appeal.
We're not relying on,
How are you relying on being accepted?
we're relying on Austin Black, who put it in that space.
I just read his words.
But we're not relying on that inter-office memo to determine whether it's buildable or not. Planning and zoning may, we are not. We are literally relying on our current leadership and planning and zoning.
Austin told me that it was land space, because I just showed him that memo from 2013, and I just said, I have this conflicting information, I need to know if it is or isn't, and if he had said no, then we would have had that, but he said, based on that, I mean, he said it was news to
Based on
him,
Steve Brown's email dated 2013.
but I have to do what I'm told.
I get that, I get
I
that.
was told
I'm
to
not
listen
trying
to
to
it.
put you down, I'm just saying that based on the Steve Brown's email of 2013, we're not going to approve it. I can't find my note here, but I got it. I'll put it in my 2014.
I have a hard time also not accepting our current planning and zoning administrators letter saying they're not.
I do, that conversation continue after
Yeah, that's where I take it personally, because well, that's not good enough, we can dig deeper and we can change.
My whole thread
Yeah,
starting
and-
with that is the first 3 pages from Austin's email, all the way up to last page.
And it wasn't intended to try to be not good enough, it was mostly just.
I'm sure it wasn't
I just want
intended.
clarification.
Yeah.
We need additional clarification, because now we have 2 different things.
That paragraph is so clear. And it just, you're saying,
Well, and ultimately, I guess I would default to, as they reviewed their own information, we have no say in it.
you know, our other stuff is in our office. Like I say, when you get a subdivision accepted, or a roadway accepted, it's a process that involves much expense and much grief and much effort, and it's not an in-office memo that accepts the road.
And we're not utilizing that to determine buildable. Planning and zoning, maybe, I don't know their policies, but.
On the second page, Austin responded to me, it would be up to Lance to determine if it would be accepted by the county, we would issue permits.
Let's go kind of back to the beginning of it, where Steve Brown said that Crestwood Lane has been accepted by default. In other words, we would have been 10 years forever. We have, except the part that you built. We plowed snow in there.
Not the county.
Who has?
I would bet, I wouldn't bet my life, but I bet you $100, maybe 1,000, the county has never plowed that road we paved, ever. City.
I might, well,
You find that.
the city has now that it's gone through.
No,
Well,
still a county road.
They trade.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we do trade, because if the city's in the area, they do, and then we pick up some other odd lots,
Okay.
seriously.
All right.
Because, yeah, we're intimately familiar with that, and we have maintained that. We go out and patch it,
Right.
so.
I won't go down that road.
But then it also says that a year or 2 later, you added the road in here. So I kind of look at them as 2 separate things, and the road back here is buildable, depends on, can they build a house on it right now? And knowing the current regulations with the city and the area of impact agreement, they have to hook up to city utilities. If the city's not willing to let them, they cannot build a house in there in the county.
Yeah, we don't, just to be clear, we don't have a preference on it.
Yeah.
We truly just follow the guidelines of
Yeah,
that.
so, I also then reached out to, Public Works as far as utilities. They have access, she said it would be no cost to the homeowner or the landowner to get the utilities up to the lot, just to access and hook up to them. And then,
But that's if they annex.
if they were gonna annex, I just covered city and county, like, as I was trying to just cover all my bases. And then Brian Stevens, at Public Works, then said if they were to switch over, they would, I guess, also accept that portion of the road. They did say that there would be road improvements that they would have to increase, but they could not give me a cost of what that would be. But anything annexed into the city would also have to do that. And then they said, I mean, as far as what he would choose to do at that time, I mean, there's a number of things he could do as far as zoning and stuff. It didn't have to be single family, it could be apartments and multi-unit. So the city also said that in that case, that they would also maintain and issue building permits if it was annexed.
I was confused by this, but when you look at the timestamp, and Lance Bates is the one that determines it.
They said never mind.
And so that makes it that it is a buildable lot. He clearly says,
So-
you can have calls.
So what I want to hear from these, what I want to know then is if I went down to the city or the county, I'm not sure who to go to, said, give me a building permit. Say, sure, we'll get you build a house.
You would have to leave that.
As soon as you improve it. How do I improve it? Go hire an engineer.
I see your point. He's kind of stuck in a no man's land.
This is a bigger problem for me than you, I promise. We're stuck. We've been stuck for a long
I
time.
see that now.
And Brian Stevens is much said so, he said that.
Yeah, I mean, I just asked him a bunch of questions. If he were to do that, they would issue building permits. He could do a number of things that would cover, like if it had, high density stuff that would cover some of that cost, so it just depends on what you want to do,
Then the
but.
question becomes, are we got them valued fairly because of the amount he had to put it together?
I don't know what those costs are, so I did not have any
That's
color
that's
on
the
that.
difficult thing, because it was just an unusual situation where
It is.
it's buildable, there's a bunch of stuff in it based on our agreement that we would not approve that road.
I think there has to be an adjustment, but I don't know where you put it. He suggested AB 141. And I don't know where you came up with that
That
number.
was the number she gave me.
That was in the undeveloped
She
without
offered you.
access to utilities.
So our rural
and
undeveloped
livable,
cost
so.
is the cost prior to roads and everything.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, even though the road that you put in.
And has access to utilities.
Yeah. And what was that value?
8,191.
8141
Per lot?
per lot.
It was 8191 is what it would have come out to.
Yeah, I mean, that finally rings true, because that's, it's in the category of any other undeveloped lot. Buildable, but,
I'm gonna make a recommendation, we go to that unless I hear something different from our assessor appraiser. That it should, that's.
Like I said, we don't have.
I was told the undeveloped would have no access to utilities, and it does, they have access to them. So that's just where I'm coming from and what I've told.
well, undeveloped lots is, they have access, but they haven't been put in. You know, that's, we dealt with that up in Corona and a lot of developments before they put the improvements in. And this is a very gray, I don't think you'll find another one of these like this in the county.
I think the only difference would be it seems that the city's willing to put the utilities in where our undeveloped cost doesn't account, like the undeveloped cost is accounting for every bit of development, roads, utilities, power, like everything being provided by the developer, that cost is built in. And I will also say, so our developer discount allows for two things. It's either based on the cost of the raw land, based on acreages, or 75% of market. And it's currently using a raw land value based on raw land sales. It's outdated, and we talked about making that transition. But I don't know if it's a direct one-to-one where the city is willing to provide the utility and the cost of the utility if it's annexed in.
I've never seen them do that. But if they ever offer to do that, I appreciate what they say down there, but the practice we've seen over the last 15 years, I don't think I could ever witness them do it.
Yeah, this is certainly unique, and that's why I think they offered it initially, and then as we dug in deeper, ultimately we were relying on planning and zoning to determine buildable lot. We don't have any ability to determine that.
I don't really find any fault with the assessor's office. I believe they were doing their job. Haley was trying to do the best she could with everything she had.
This was amazing digging all this
Yeah.
stuff out.
Nice history.
I think that they've done really well, but based on the information we've had, the uniqueness of this, I would make a motion that we fall back to the 8191, which we originally offered.
Second that. All in favor? So, if you can calculate those and fill those in.
Yeah. Should be, I think they're all the exact same footage, so they should be all the same.
Okay, what's the next one?
Same street, believe it or not. Never. All the shop around like that.
That's what we just did.
Going through that place.
Okay, this is the house on the corner that's across from Kipp's that you're in the process of demolishing. So, these have to be valued on the condition on January 1st for the tax year.
Right.
And they got a $265,932 value on that. What was that? What was the condition and everything?
So it was up for review, sent a home survey. He had called me back in August, so my first page was the sheet that I printed out at that time, making my notes for our conversation on the phone. He said he was hoping to move it off by January 1st. He said that sprinkler pipe or something burst in the flooding of the basement. So sheetrock flooring was all ripped up. And then he said that the floor was in rough condition, holes in walls, stuff like that. That he would rent it out, but, I mean, he hooked up and that kind of stuff, and water and stuff, so it wasn't totally unlivable, just in rough shape. So based on the conversation, I had said, if it's not moved by January 1st, I'll put it in a fair condition and move all the basement finish. So that's what I did, because driving out there, there was a permit taken out. Every time I went out there, I made notes as to what I saw at that time. It was still there with no visible changes, even through February. We did start to notice some progress. There was concrete dug up and beams noticed under the garage in April. And in May, we noticed that it was moved off. So it was still there as of January 1st that I know of. And as far as the condition, that's what I did. I have not been made aware of any other changes to the condition as of January.
Make us aware if there were any other what you explained.
Yeah. We had the house rented, waiting for some phone change or something when they come. We had some people in there that absolutely trashed the house. They trashed it because that's not the problem you're concerned. They trashed it. At the same time, you had a forced annex going on in the city, which trips our property tax.
They forced annex
Yeah,
now.
it hits too.
The first two houses are annexed into the
Why,
city.
why only the first two and not the rest of the street?
Because there's not a city road in front of it. That's not a city road. I don't know, but I'm
There's
definitely.
Sunnyside, but there's not.
Yeah. So anyway, renters trash the house, the basement full of water, you start cleaning it out. I think this is just, so it's gonna cost more to fix this and we can rent it for 5 years, actually 2 years. So let's just demolish it. And the assessment come out almost exactly the same time. I called the visitor today and told her what we planned on doing, and she says, I'm sorry, I'm stuck with the 2021, 2020. There's nothing I can do for you now, even though the house is trashed, there's nothing we can do, but we'll adjust for it for 2022. Am I getting my number right? Okay, so we did. I found a house mover that would move it if we could get in the house. Get in the house. So we get the house to this house mover, they'll come move it. Well, he applies for a permit, he goes in, starts doing what they do, taking it down, breaking it down, getting it ready to move. He did tell me he had it out by January 1st. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but he did. Like all other subcontractors, it's still not done. And it's, hopefully it's gonna be done this year. I don't know if it's gonna be done. The house is gone now, there's a big mess in front of that yard. I've got neighbors even more mad at me over it. But it just sat there. Utilities are not there because of the forced annexation. I had to go down that rabbit hole to find out what the utility situation was, and on next year, on August 1st, 1921, Rocky Mountain transferred the power to Idaho Falls Power. So there wasn't power there as of August 1st, 1921. They call Idaho Falls Power, and they look, can't find it, and say, yeah, we just put a meter in there as of January, January 22, they put a meter in. So Idaho Falls acknowledges it's their problem now, not Utah Power's. So really, that's all it is, other than Haley said, it's not out. I guess Haley, you can't go peeking in the window every house you assess, I would assume, and knock on the door, and there wouldn't have been any better let in, but it would have been full of ice and water, and so nothing's happened in that house.
When was the power disconnected?
August 1st, 2021.
When was it reconnected?
It's not reconnected. it's there if you wanted to look up to it, but now there's a great big hole in the ground, the house is gone.
But on January first, that would make an argument that it's not livable. Well, what kind of adjustment would this be on this house if it were not livable? So I think you're stuck with the house at some kind of value, because you didn't have it off there. You could take that up with your house number, you know.
I'll put it on the list.
We have it in fair design based on the
That's
August.
an additional 20%.
But it's fair and unlivable house.
Fair is very livable, and then she put an additional 20% on it.
But if you don't have utilities or basically access to it, what does that do to it?
What would it be if you rolled that 20 out? 4. So 4 would be like,
I've had it done, and $40,000 later, you get a livable again.
Goes on the scrap hole, I said, Utah Power. I said, give me the history of when those tenants paid, they skipped out. And she
Yeah, I
said,
didn't even notice that because it's not even a.
she said, they never paid that. They never paid utility, and she said, you're dumb as I am. She said, no. We got a code down there, they go through the whole. No, I'm not as dumb as you.
grade. So if you put it in the condemned grade and remove the 20%, value actually increases. So the amount that it decreases by putting it in what our typical condition adjustment for a home that's non-livable, condemned essentially, that value is larger than what it is currently in a fair, which is very livable plus an additional 20%, which is what's currently receiving. It's currently receiving a larger adjustment than it would if we had just put it in a condemned value.
So I did a demolition permit applied, or a demolition permit in October given. And work starting, but not finished. That doesn't mean anything.
So essentially, the value that it was carrying January 1 would be the value of the home, and then the adjustment would reflect the cost to bring it to livable. So that's the way it's valued as of January 1. Now, regardless of the intention, it is valued as at January 1, what its market value was. So the adjustment is what its market value was, just to bring it back up to livable.
So you're saying it's worth $260 now, so it's worth $260, it's really worth $400, because somebody went in there and spent $150,000 to bring it up to snuff, and then it was $400.
So the sales thing I have, we don't have any fair condition sales. So I did have to pull average ones, but I did take a look at what his value would have been if it was still an average as it was prior to our discussion and with basement finish. His value would have been around $373. And then I found closer no basement ones, but the years are farther off, but still, kind of sandwiched in between. With no basement finish, but still back in an average condition, it would have been around $343. So, just the condition change from average to fair, he's getting about $77,318, just in that condition change.
You can make any adjustment for the street that it's on, or area where people.
Yeah, we do actually, so something that we do often is studies to determine if several factors, one of those being busy roads. So in order to see if a busy road will factor into the sale price, I think everybody in here would say I'd never buy a home on a busy street. So the challenge is that when we compare those sales of homes on 17th Woodruff, First Street, Sunnyside, Skyline, we compare the sales of those homes on those busy roads to sales of similar homes further in those divisions. For whatever reason, whether I agree with it or not, the market shows that they don't sell for less. So we don't, that's not generally something, and again, we'll do those studies for homes next to commercial businesses, next to dumps, next to industrial pits, like we do these studies to ensure, because again, I think that any one of us would say I'd never buy a house on 17th Street, but for whatever reason, it doesn't sell for less.
So, none of us buy the house, but yet it's still worth all that money. Self-clearing market. There's my,
Because whoever owned the house before we bought it got compensated extra for the right of way. and then it sounded like they did fairly well because the market price didn't drop on it. So
It's just, again, it's so hard to get,
it's frustrating.
nobody will buy this house. Nobody wants it. Nobody will buy it. We're gonna tear it down because now we're fixing up that, but the computer says, or the numbers say it's still worth that much money.
Well, in the law said it's on that day, but you could have got a casualty exemption for that. That's the only way you can get rid of the value halfway during the year.
Those don't count. I found that out a long time.
Yeah, like your, if your mover could have
Yeah.
got it moved in time, so you might want to charge it a little for buying the house, but for being late, I don't know if you can.
This is a tough one. It's hard to put that value on, but I don't see any.
Well, didn't you say that the floor is 20% less than
That
fair?
was already an additional 20% on top of the fair condition.
The current value that it is, if we had just put it into that value, the value would actually higher the value than have it currently. Because again, that may be the intention of a condemned, essentially you're just tearing it down, but the value that you currently has it in reflecting the cost to cure, to bring it back to livable. So it is, I mean, at that point, it almost makes less sense to bring it to livable.
Okay, my question is, if you assess it, what you assessed it at, and you gave it average condition. I don't want to think too.
The comparables.
It's a fair condition right now,
Yes.
and it's 260,000.
With an additional 20%.
And in general, I don't go specific, I mean, in general, it's 20% off. And if it's poor, or down.
My guess is maybe it's more would have dropped to 15%.
Close to 20 then. Can we take 20% off of that at least?
So we've taken 20% off of the fair.
265?
No. To get to 265, without that 20% out of fair, the challenge is that for a home that size, in this market, that's what's driving that value.
It's almost 4,000 square foot home.
So she's put it in fair condition to reflect the issues that she discussed last year with you. And then in addition, she's put
Put
in
a time on it, it's an 1832 square foot home. With an 1832 basement that's finished, which you took out of all
and
that.
that is what we're showing.
So it's an 1,800 square foot home, it's not 4,000. 36 square foot home.
We're actually talking about 203,000 instead of 20 for the home, right? The law is 62,000.
202.
So
I don't have the current value.
So the value of the lot is there, the home is actually just less. Yeah, I make a motion that we uphold the value. I know that it's not good.
Say I'd give you the sympathy vote, but I have your sympathy vote for yes. Yes. Okay, you also know that you're gonna, you can appeal this to the state.
Thank you, I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. What's it gonna be? 8191 each. Yeah. So, do I need total, or what do you want to do here? I think Roger wants you to do the 8191 total. So what's 8191 times 6? Is that what we're talking? There's 5. I don't know. So it'd be 8191 times 5.
Hold on, one of these is already at 3120.
That's what I said, I think you do that for.
Okay. So did you do 81 times 4 plus 31?
Sorry, say that again. 191 times 4. And then you said plus 5.
Hold on. No. So one of these is, the first acres is 61 and the back acres is 31.
I think she's on now. So she's adjusted. This one over an acre, this one must be over an acre. So is it just, they're totaling these two together, 8191?
No, it should be 10,000 plus.
So that one is at 8191. It's the size of that one. Whoops.
Yeah, all I read.
Yeah, it's got 78. That one's 8191. That one's 8191. That one is 2. That one's 8191. So all 5.
So this is 4. Yeah, it should show off between. Oh, okay.
So these are all 83 on each.
Okay.
Total of 49. So you did 81 on all. Okay.
Yeah,
they were all that same
See, that's more reasonable for that
Yeah, that one's weird.
The other one's a tough argument.
I didn't want it.
Because he was saying you can't do anything with it because it's selling the gas there already.
Yeah.
Finally, clear.
Oh, you got 2 more, or is there 2? How many more, Kayla? 3?
Is this the next one?
There's David here.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one.
Adjust those with the 2 different ones. Yep, he's sitting where he's.
I'm in the hot seat here.
You can sit wherever you want.
Hi, how are you doing? Roger, how you doing? Let's see, I remember
Brian actually came out to your shop.
yeah, and you're Alan Walker, good to meet you. You're the new guy on the block, are you? Great, are you being initiated by fire or?
You're obviously, you've been to the Board of Equalization here before.
I have.
know the process. The assessor required to assess properties at market value each year. Hear your arguments. We have to look for actual sales. We appreciate the sentiment about taxes. That was based on what the market would be on that. So the evidence you got that we'll consider it.
Okay.
And we'll make a determination today. If you disagree with that, you can get a form from the state board of equalization, which is down here.
So I put all my complaints and some of them have talked about valuation, but
Can I interrupt just for a second? I'm having a hard time, Brian. What are you trying to tell me? Triple S, is that the one we're doing?
yes.
Because we have 2 of them, right? Okay, now I'm with you. Thank you. So it's this 100, last 3 now, which triple S.
Okay, this is the RBC.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll be quick, I'll just kind of go through this and then, so you're not gonna like the evaluation, but,
land portion increased 33%. The building raised 105%. And the total increase was 86%. Okay? I got to give you a little bit of history. And Roger, you're going to remember I came back in 2017. My property value went up another 78% at that time. And I did take it to task. I went to the Board of Equalization. I got turned down. Okay? Right. And so I want you to have that little bit of information. Okay. Since 2017, clear back in 17 when I got turned down, my property tax on that my valuation has increased by 230%, okay? Now just hear me out, I kind of broke down in each point. So I don't know how you're evaluating, and I get that you're trying to get everybody's taxes valuated, but you have to be equal and fair with other properties. I am not going to tell you the name of one, but there's a fast food chain restaurant that is in the same location, the same building size, the same time frame that was built, and it was in 2022, its valuation went up 46%. In 2017, it only went, since 2017, it's only gone up 100%. Mine has gone up 220%. It's not fair. And I get excited. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. So don't take me that way. Impassioned. Anyway, property B is a full-scale restaurant. So I know it's not in the same code, but the same thing. Its valuation has been way down from what mine was. Okay, and so then the assessor says, well, you really don't have to worry about it because if you look at your tax from last year to this year, even though we've evaluated it, you know, and it's gone up, we've evaluated everybody's, and actually you can go onto the tax commission website, and actually my tax is going to go down this year according to the assessor. I don't know if that's true, I didn't do the calculations, but he told me that. But let's look at property tax, okay? So property tax increased in 17 from 9,000 to 14,000, which was a 57% increase. And my property tax did go down a little bit in 21, 13,320 is what I'm paying. The guy that I'm talking about in the scenario with number one, he is paying a whole bunch less money right now. Did I have that in there? I thought I had it in there. I must have not. Oh, I didn't. Okay. I had this property tax up coming on my not seeing that in there. Anyway, his property tax is about half of what I'm paying, and it's the same business, the same type of business, and it's about 7,000, and I'm paying 14,000. It's not right. I think everybody should pay property tax, don't get me wrong, but it should be equal. I'm competing with the guy, and mine is twice as much as the other guys. Then another point I want to make out too, the building I don't think is, right now it's not worth what you're saying. We have to do a major remodel, and it's coming up. I'm supposed to do it in 22, but due to COVID, I've got an extension to 23, and we've got to almost rebuild that whole building. So the building, to me, the value is dang near worthless. But, you know, and I've evaluated, I put, it should be up around the 700,000 mark. That's what I feel, and that's an increase from before. But that's where we're at.
Are you in the process of doing that now? Is that why your dining is closed?
Actually, that's another problem. I can't get workers. So that's been a really tough business with workers and everything. We relied on help from minors a lot in that business, and anymore it is what it is. You just almost can't even hire them. And so the labor pools out there, our labor costs have gone up. In 2 years, they have almost doubled. And of course, food prices, you know that, you get that. an issue with property tax, but that's what it is. I mean, it's been tough. We just can't get people. Appreciate that. I know you come in a lot.
We're trying to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, show us how we got these values.
To be clear, when you said the assessor gave you your tax decrease, I haven't, you don't do appraiser, right?
I met the appraiser, yeah, he told
That was
me,
based off of the state's tool.
yeah, and I didn't do the calculations. I should know your name. Brian, I'm sorry.
That
Brian.
was coming off the state estimate.
Yeah, it's coming off.
Yeah, I just know it's talking to you, so
So,
it's like,
So, you know, we don't rent it, so I know you do it that way. I own the land.
basically, the front page there is just a reconciliation of our. And this here, page here. Just come out to what we did our market study with. And if you look at the top section, there's a top section there, and then you see the bottom yellow mark for the 219. Those are the fast foods, we either had a foreclosure or restaurants like Alberto's, or Wendy's, which was purchased and then closed and demolished a couple years later. And that's where Duck Brothers is now, 17th Street. So those are the sales there, and that's where that 219 is coming from, is off of those lesser restaurants. You see which restaurants they were off to the side. Park Circle, Slotski's, which is over, which turned into the Garage Junior, stuff like that. And down below, you see the upper graded restaurants, Freddy's, KFC, to East Barbecue, which also sold and turned into the Sweet Burrito. And if you look at sell prices there, you can see the Dickies was a foreclosure, 680, and then the Sweet Burrito came in, it was 1.54 for it. And then the one before that's the Burger King on Yellowstone, sold for 2.3.
I don't know where you're in this.
so this top section is showing local restaurants, but they're not generally national chains, aside from that Wendy's, which was purchased and then demolished a couple years later, so essentially a land purchase. And then the bottom section is your national restaurants.
Well, if you want to give me 2.3 for it, it's a deal. Let's shake hands and write a check. I'd be happy to take
This
that.
here packet here, those are all the state. This is a regional market, this is a regional study that I did to try to get an idea of what fast food was and if it made a difference to where you were or what location you were in or what. And when you look at this, the last page on it, on the main section, go to cell number 19 in this package, which was Yellowstone Highway, so 213. But I just brought this one because you had Arby's, which is number 7, number 10, and number 14. Look at the first Arby's, it was in Utah.
I don't even know why you're comparing them to Utah.
Well,
I mean, that's completely not even our jurisdiction. Why don't you compare them to New York City? Compared to here, well, you're looking at the wrong comps. It is not Ogden, Utah. It's Idaho Falls, Idaho, Bonneville County. Okay.
This was a 9.7 in Utah, so it's a lot higher on this Arby's. And then come down to the other Arby's, which is in Logan, Utah. Look where they're at, it's at 1.4. And if you look at the 14 Arby's, it was in Berg, Idaho. And it only sold for 1.143. Back in 2019. So we were looking at these, and then over here, the value is, I compared him directly with the KFC sale, which is $415 per square foot. The overall average on all of food without the foreclosure was 5,673 square foot.
But he did make, because I'm curious about the comment of the fast food on First Street, which valued a lot different.
That just happened to be Fiesta, which is a non-national franchise, which is in the lower block at the top.
Well, and I know that, I didn't say the name, but that particular deal, Fiesta Olay, they are a franchise restaurant. They have more stores than I have. I have 2 stores. I am a national franchise that only owns 2 stores. I don't have 100 stores like the big national chains say that they do. I own 2 stores.
And what's the other RVs on West Broadway valued?
I actually have that. I own that too.
What's the address?
I didn't, it is 1547 Broadway, and you valued it at $929.
Because I'm familiar with both of them, and the one on 17th Street is much more convenient.
Roger, yes, it's also been updated.
Does Broadway has, yeah. So you've got.
And it's going to be following this appraisal because it's behind the schedule. So it has to have the recent updates.
We're looking at this year's appraisal, we've got that one at 200,000 more, we've got this one.
And this one hasn't been reappraised yet.
So this year's appraisal, I understand. And, much more parking, easier to get to, it's for the traffic and remodeled, and we're $200,000 higher on 17th Street. And we're $300,000 or $400,000 higher than Fiesta Olay. Is that First Street? That's not a Fiesta.
No, it's Fiesta Olay. Next to the RVs on 17th Street.
Oh.
I'm not supposed to share the information on Fiesta Olay, but I got it right here.
He said the one on First Street, yeah, name, is that?
Oh, the Fiesta Olay that I'm talking about is right next door to
Right next to
Harvey's.
you.
I didn't say that, and it is 438,000. And I am 1 point.
Commercial is that we don't have where our residential homes can fluctuate with market rate. Where we use all 3 cost approaches or all 3 approaches to value. Those value fluctuations kind of.
We showed, what was the income on this? Showed effective gross income, 121,000. Where would you write that?
Yeah, I don't understand that particular thing you do
Typical
there.
range is 4750 on a national franchise restaurant. Restaurant size is 2563. So then the gross income, and you do a 5% vacancy, it's the effective gross, and 20% expense rate, brought it down to the net, so 92.
So your gross income is rent income, business income.
It's like this is rent impairments. And the cap rate is 7.25, which is the higher end of the cap rate because of the gauge of it. Once the average cap rate's here, you're down in the 5.25 on the newer restaurants.
Higher cap rate is low value.
So the regular cap rate on the newer restaurants, like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, or Soul, stuff like that, are at 5.25.
Those cap rates on regional.
Those are regional cap
Or
rates.
the actual local.
They're based off of both. I've looked at both, that's why I went to the regional comparison, compared to the local comparison and ads. So it didn't make much difference if you went out regionally throughout Idaho, throughout the state, and looking at stuff that's sold. It's all comparable in sale prices. And where you're only updating the value every 5 years, that's where you're going to have other RVs at a different value now because it's falling, I think, next year and will be falling.
It's still laying next door.
If it's still laying next door, with the falling into this year upper block.
Yep.
Where you got your Los Albertos, the restaurants that got torn down, Sausages Deli got torn down, then you got Arctic Circle in there.
This is essentially the difference between a local chain and a national chain.
Basically, the difference between them, and it's only $219 a square foot.
Could I make a couple of
That's why you look at
comments?
the top, that top chunk is your local chains.
There's a lot of difference. That's why I showed the foreclosure between Dickies and when Sugarito came in. The difference there in the lot.
That's not right, but I understand that's in the book. I want to make a couple more comments. And first off, McDonald's, everybody thinks it's a fast food chain. However, it happens not to be. They are actually a developer. They build the building and they lease it out to the franchisee. So they don't, I mean, they want to have a high rent on their building so that they are please their shareholders. And that is how they do it. You can check any McDonald's, there is, well, I can't say there's no franchises that own their buildings, but there's very few franchises that own their own buildings. They rent the whole building, land, and everything back to them. Then they will remodel it for them and they'll set the cap rate high again. And that's what McDonald's do. They remodel every, what, 5 years? And so I'm in that category. You know, that it's really a different category. They are a huge business, you know.
What's the, I mean, you point out the shortage of labor, which is valid, being a higher operational cost. And of course, everybody's aware of what's happened with the food industry during COVID. What do you say? How's that affected your gross revenues and cost of living?
To be honest, when COVID first hit, we were only one of the restaurants that stayed open. So we actually boomed, our sales were way up. But then since then, it's dropped quite a bit. And then the labor thing has hit us pretty hard in the last year. I mean, we're supposed to have 80 employees. I think we're down to 25. And, you know, there's really no solution to it at this point. I don't know where we're gonna go from there. I don't know.
Does that affect your
Yes.
customers because you can't get it?
Well,
You're slower to serve.
we're slower to serve, and we've had to close the dining room, which by our franchise rights, we can't even do that, but we do. You know, so, and the people that we got working, they're working a lot of hours. Those guys work hard. But, you know, we're trying to work on a few things. We need another labor pool. We need to open it back up to kids. We thought we were, okay. So we thought we were, I shouldn't even tell you this, but we thought that we were doing everything right with minors, right? I mean, we have to check off on what they do and everything. Well, we recently got audited by the Department of Labor. And you wouldn't believe the things that we thought we were doing right that you can't do. And we got a huge fine from them. And it basically, you know, we've been working them so they work at nights, right? So they threw the supper and then they can close, right? Basically, we would have to start a whole nother shift just to have minors work because they can only work so many hours in one day and they can't work past this time. And I mean, it's just, and so why do you want to try to bother that?
Well, I'm sure I know the guy you worked for growing up, he didn't think you were.
I started at 8 years old getting paid $0.25 an hour. How's that?
We probably.
Okay, yeah.
I've got a gut feel solution, that's all it is. I think it should be, hire the one on the west side, so we get out and do both, even though they're on different schedules, because, you know, I think it's probably should be a little lower than the west side for this year.
The only challenge, it's the only way to accomplish that, because you're gonna see that across several industries where there's multiple, and that would be to literally freeze the values countywide with commercial, and then every 5 years, see a big challenge.
But, everybody protested a particular parcel, that's what we're looking at.
I don't know how to avoid that situation. With commercial, we don't have that ability to see that value fluctuate every year with all three approaches.
And I'm still uncomfortable with the SOA. Probably 40% of the value.
And that's why he's included the local chase sell price. Also, they're probably
believe the information Brian brought shows that is justified with the SOI. You know, when you compare the national change compared to local, I think Brian's got his numbers, but I do think it's unfair to this business owner who's competing with another RVs to be such a differentiation in their cost of taxes.
Yeah, and it may be, again, market is what we're following, and it may just be that a national franchise brings more customers than a local franchise. It's a known name, you get the benefit of the advertising. Whatever the reason is, we're not determining the reason, we're just really looking at the market. Market indicates the national franchise.
And I tried to give him a little bit of the doubt by not taking him in at the 569.73, and I got him off too, and took a fried chicken down to 415. So I already started discounting a lot for the song last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in that instance, there was an error. I believe I remember correctly.
When does the other RVs get value, free value?
Not scheduled on hours. The review and the other hours.
You do it every 5.
It'll be 2 more years.
It's 2 more years before we spot up to value, which is going to be just 19, this is 2 years later. And it just happens, it all kind of happened.
It wasn't until this year.
It's remodeled after 19.
It was remodeled after 19.
But that value is that high.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I think so, and that's, I live on that side, it was done during COVID. Are we done during
No,
COVID?
it was before COVID.
What was the
I built
value?
it, and I know it was done before COVID. Yeah. I could find out, but I don't know right off the top of my head. I wouldn't want to give you some information that's not right. But it was definitely before COVID.
We're trying to find the value for.
No, it was remodeled, and when it was took the picture, what's the date on the picture, it was not remodeled. That's 17 years.
What was the value in 19?
So the value in 19 was 929,406, and it stayed that way.
What was it prior to that?
It was 2018, it was 592.
So the remodel took it up from 5 to 9, and it's been at 9, which was higher than this value until the review. So if we, alternatively, you could have said we need to freeze that value until this one is up for review. Like at what point, unless you froze literally every commercial value for that 5-year cycle and brought them all up to whatever value.
I really understand Mr. Skidmore's argument, but I don't see any error in the way Brian has done this.
How do they take into consideration the shape of the building? You know, I mean, he's got this high price on the building, and it's not worth that. I mean, it is, if I was to sell it on the open market, the building is shot. It's gonna, and he just said, Solosky's got torn down. Restaurant after restaurant after restaurant that don't make it, they tear it down to the ground. There's a reason for it. The building is shot, dead,
That's
gone.
basically why I put
And
$150 started off the diet compared to the KFC instead of.
but you still evaluated that building way more than it's worth, way more than it's worth.
If you look at the market approach, it's 415, 38, that's the cost approach. Cost approach does not even come close to what these tax grid accounts should be. Yeah, the cost approach is only at 505, but it's weighted in as part of the weight. If you look at the weight down below, I had the cost approach is 20% of the weight. Don't you get an average of 3 costs 150?
Not an average necessarily.
On average, I gave 40% to the income approach, I gave 40% to the market approach, and I could give 20% to the cost. Try to accommodate for that somehow.
It should
But where the other two approaches are very the same value.
And there will be different businesses that do a different rate, so we're weighing based on what the business is. They're not always gonna be a full 40/20, but.
Right, and tell them mark their approach almost right next to each other, right with each other. I'm going to actually give that more weight because two approaches say it should be this, and one approach says it's down here. But the cost of control level is not going to get these last two grid amounts anywhere close to where they need to be. They're always low in the cost approach.
If you weighted them all equally.
You know, that really depends on what you're including in the cost approach too. What does that include? I mean, seriously, you gotta think about that. Is the restaurant equipment included in that? Is it not? I mean, some of these are sold that way and is included, some of them aren't. You know, and so there's, you know, it's really comes down to how you estimate that.
The market and the income.
And we try to
look
look
at
at
the ability to account for the local. Our cost approach is based on a cost table from Phillips, Marshall, Swift. It isn't necessarily local to Idaho Falls, you know, certainly regional should, but again, even then, we don't know how current it is. And that's why when Brian's looking at this.
And it doesn't matter how you do it, there's gonna be some flaws in it, obviously.
And the two methods look to come in pretty close to each other, and there's one that is an outlier. It's still applied weight to that outlier, it's carrying lesser than the other.
Because even when Taco Bell bought the Happy's right next door, it was bought with all the equipment in it. But they basically bought that for $690,000,
Yeah,
and then they took
existing
the
equipment
metal
is worth
down.
nothing.
So they're basically gonna be demoing the Happy's, taking the Taco Bell down, building a new Taco Bell on both lots. Because they wanted a larger space for Taco Bell, so basically paid
And again,
$690,000 for the lot to tear it down.
this goes right back to a big, huge company. Taco Bell is owned by Pepsi. Okay, they can come in with all of their money from Wall Street and do that. They can afford to do that. I can't afford to do that. I have 2 stores. I don't have 150 million stores. I got 2 stores. Arby's does not help us with any of the kind of stuff there.
We're kind of at an impasse here, and we've got, we're falling behind. If I weighted them all the same, so there wasn't, a third, it brings it to 1,015,790. So it drops $100,000 dollars off of it, and it kind of splits the difference of the other RVs in that. So that's what I'm gonna recommend.
Okay, John. Trust the lines out there.
Well, that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where I came out when I added all of the approaches divided by 3.
And I would agree to that, even though if I would look at the cost approach, I think it's way underrated that. Anyway, I think somebody was sure it hurts.
I think the reason it's carrying less weight is because the other 2 methods came in really close to each other.
Yeah, which I understand, but they came in real close, way high, so. And this was extremely.
Basically, where Chick-fil-A was raised to 2.2.
Okay, so.
I totally understand what you did, Brian, and I don't discount it, but we've got to find a solution here. So it puts it
Chick-fil-A is also owned by the,
15,
I'm just commenting, Chick-fil-A is also a big corporation. They own their stores and they, anyway.
And you get there, you understand how I got there.
Okay, so we're going to base that adjusted to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3,
Of the total weight,
And I typically try to adjust 3 ways.
The only thing I don't know how to do, Brian, is how to make the difference between that.
Usually when I weight something 3 different ways, I'll usually give one 16 and the other 230, and then 40, 30, 30. Just to make it easier.
How do you want us to just make sure
Instead of
that
trying to do
I would just take the same percentage.
usually the total value comes out.
We'll usually take one of them 40 minutes out. So it's just easier in the program to do
So
that.
they can adjust between categories. Okay, next.
To what? What is the total value gonna be?
1,015,790.
Can you write that down, please? And then, so just a real quick minute, so then what happens after that if I don't agree? I go to the Board of Appeals, you'll send me a letter? Okay.
We sign that.
All right. Great, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, the next is a couple.
Yeah, and I'll just spend a real quick minute, my only complaint is that on a 4,800%, 4,800%.
And I'm guessing because we heard one of these before, that was because you lost the ag exemption. How big of lots are they?
They are just 2 lots I have on each side of my home.
How big?
They're a couple of acres apiece, I don't know exactly.
So they're under 5 acres.
They're under 5
Do they
acres.
produce $1,000 a year in farm?
No, they don't, I mean, they don't produce any money at all. So I can lie like it and hire somebody and say we did $1,000 and go through all that hullabaloo, but it is inventory property as well.
Inventory property, that area has been allowed to stay in ag as long as it could meet the ag conditions, and as you sell.
My dad fought tooth and nail for that.
I will tell you, there's 11 lots in all of that area that are currently listed ag. Every other lot, every other inventory lot is currently, it's no longer ag.
Well, we also talked about them being inventory lots as well.
And they are, most of them are, but the only ones that are receiving, excuse me, ag, and I think there's 11 or 14 or 8.
Well, if it goes up 4,800% next year, what are we gonna do? I mean, that is ridiculous. 4,800%.
Percentages are not the price of the inventory lot is $7,240. And, that's sure a lot different than it's gonna be with the market value of a lot for sale and still inventory. So
I can't disagree with that.
That's a different price.
You're right.
Allowed by the legislature that does not qualify for ag.
I'm gonna let you have that one.
Okay.
But I had to complain. All right, I'm done. But we will see you next Wednesday in the road and bridge meeting. I have a agenda that we're gonna be on there, so we'll be seeing you next week. All right.
So we get to see you, pleasure to see you again.
Yes, I hope it's a pleasure.
It is.
I get, like I said, he said, I get excited, I'm not mad, I just get excited.
We don't get excited about it.
And I appreciate your guys' position too, you gotta do this all the time with everybody, so, anyway, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is what? That's something we heard from Karen Anderson. And I know she'd be right down here all of that.
Yeah.
This is the last. Is that yours? We got two more. This one has 1 or 2.
One at 3:30 says
We have 10 to 1 at 3:30 get it off. Okay,
So we still got one.
Yeah, we have 2.
We were scheduled for 3:40.
Okay. All right, sorry we're behind schedule. We'll try to keep moving. And you're, Greg.
Greg, so are you the 3 commissioners?
Litster?
Yes.
Litster?
Brian Reed.
Brian Reed?
John Walker. Okay, so the purpose of the Board of Equalization, you've been to one before. Okay, the assessor is required to bring things up to current market value each year. If you disagree with the value, you have the opportunity to file an appeal to us. We'll base the information, the decision on the information we get in the hearing. If you disagree with that, your next opportunity is the State Board of Tax Appeals, which will be here in September, to do your form in 28 days. And then it's kind of, it's a trial de novo, so you can bring new information if you need into that. If you learn something here that didn't make your case right, you have a chance to bring that back.
So it's not like an appellate court where you can only discuss.
Right.
No, you can bring new stuff to that one.
Yeah. Okay, so, let's see.
So as background information on me, my wife and I grew up in Idaho. We live in Simi Valley, California, Southern California now. I'm one of 8 children, my wife's the oldest of 13. I grew up in Boise High School, Boise State for a couple of years, BYU, degree in economics, and MBA. I married her maiden name was Dane Watkins. One of 13, the oldest of 13. She went to all the schools there, to graduate top of her class at valedictorian high school there in Rexford. Graduated Rex, graduated BYU, degree in economics. Of course, her GPA was a lot higher than mine. She had a 3.96, so tough to that. She had a master's degree at UCLA. Parents are 80 and 84, and we try to get up and visit them on a regular basis. We sold, I bought a house in 1981 in Southern California. This was right after the Jimmy Carter debacle, and Reagan all over, and I assumed a 17% mortgage rate on this house. I'm old now. I don't pay property according to my age, but my grandparents were Scottish, and they were fearless, and sometimes they couldn't spell. That's just carried on. Growing up as a kid, I milked cows and shoveled manure, baled hay, and it all. I was a banker when I got out of school for 18 years. And my bank was getting bought, so I bought a division of the bank. We run a company now, a business now, for the last 25 years. We're in the check fraud prevention business, which is a business which is huge for fraudsters. And they're hitting smaller companies, smaller banks, all over the nation. It's just terrible. You hear about debt scams, and it doesn't seem to compromise video. Check fraud is far bigger than extortion.
Which we hate to interrupt, but we appreciate that, but we need to get to the
Let me get to where I'm going. We bought these 2 properties. We sold our house and bought these 2 properties in Idaho Falls because I'm not buying property in California again. We will come back.
Okay, these properties are 160 and 166.
160 and 166.
And they are 4 plexes.
4 plexes.
Where are they located?
Fenway Park in Idaho Falls.
By Winco?
Yes.
Okay.
Right over by Winco.
Okay. The value?
Well, the value that we're given originally, if you look at page 2, or the second page of this, it was 134% increase, which is not at all correct. And I actually talked to the assessor after I filed this protest, and she told me that she's in the process of re-examining this value. She said we got it wrong. This is an assessor, I don't think assessor is the right word, appraiser. She's been around a long time. I could tell she's very smart, very experienced. She says, we got it wrong, we're gonna fix this. So I haven't gotten that one yet. But the broader concept, and I asked, well, how did you, being a banker, I think this way, how did you arrive at the value? Well, we look at market value, we look at the cost to replace. As I said, well, there's also the income approach. What is your income? So we didn't have that, and so we didn't get that. What I have done, and when we bought these properties, they're 3 bedroom, 2 full baths. Those are ideal for small families. That isn't what we necessarily put in there. That's what we're going to be putting in there as we have people. My daughter and son-in-law, he just graduated on Saturday from, a week ago Saturday from BYU Hawaii, 2 small kids. They're moving into one of these units now. The rents I showed, the management company here showed what we're collecting. The market rate is $1,300. We could have charged market rate at any time, and we chose not to. The reason we chose not to is because the time we bought these the end of last year, gas prices were going up, winter, and we just didn't want to do that to our tenants. We know what it's like to not have any money. And so you can see what we've been charging. Yes, we can charge more, but is it the right thing to do? And then I got this tax assessment. I said, oh my gosh. And I've talked to a number of people. I talked to people at the title company. I've talked to people when I call in for this stuff. And they're saying, yeah. And I asked them about what did they get this new assessment? And one said, yeah, $134 a month. And I'm not getting the pay increase. Another guy, $154 a month. I'm not getting a pay increase. And 8% inflation. I have lived through 4 recessions, and I saw what is going on. People are getting crushed. And so I'm bringing this to your attention. Not just so much about the valuation. I'm going to get the new valuation. But my question is it a law that you must increase taxes?
The law is that it reflects fair market value.
Yes, but is it a law that you must put it through? That's the question.
According to by statute, the assessor is required to raise the fair market value. So let's get to the fair market values. Until this will stretch out, talk about taxes. We feel the same way. I have rental properties. I'm going to be forced today. I tried the same approach you do, but I'm going to have to raise the rents. So anyway, let's talk about the value of these fourplexes. Should be able to defend their position.
They did offer to adjust.
Yeah, I've already adjusted that.
Were you the lady I spoke to?
Yes.
Good thing he said nice stuff about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So the value is $1 million that you were defending, and you offered the adjustment of $2,723.81.
yes, I've already adjusted these. The whole complex has been made, was adjusted down.
Are
Every
you aware of that?
Yes, I know she's adjusting it. I haven't gotten anything yet.
Okay. These are adjusted down to within about 17,000 on one and 23,000 on the other, is what you say they were. Is that acceptable?
I think it's accurate for today. For today. The problem we have, though, is this is what I'm trying to drive through. Property values are going to be falling. They're going to be falling. And so next year when the new assessment comes out, it's not going to help the people in my community, this community. They need help today.
But, you're familiar with the law, because you remind me a lot of an attorney in Boise, Bill Litster.
That's my younger
brother. No, I know. He was a good friend. We had a lot of fun.
Okay.
So politically, but we need to focus on what it's worth as of January 1st last year. Next year, they'll assess on what things are worth on January 1st of next year, and we are seeing them flatten off. I remember Jillian Croft, because I'm probably at least as old as you.
I'm 71. How old are you?
69.
The class of 69, Boise High School.
Anyway,
So I'd like to ask, I guess, why these received the adjustment, because it's a pretty big adjustment.
Well, when they went out, they were, when we reviewed the values that were told out, that was based upon
what and it just needed to be made to bring it to market value, because we're needed to be at market value. When the assessment notices went out, the very first call I got from an individual that has an apartment in Fenway, and there's also Eagle, that lives out off of Eagle Drive. I looked at the values on them, and oh, they're way too high. I know they're too high because my market is not showing that they should be over 700, about 25,000. So every unit in both of those complexes got an adjustment down to reflect the market to be between 710 and 725, which is rated in that area.
30% adjustment.
Yeah, they went out incorrectly.
We're essentially inputting the tables in our cost profile into our CAM system. We're using sales, and now that same market influences these. Unfortunately, there are far fewer multifamily sales than there are residential homes. So when we're accounting for that, these obviously weren't represented well enough to be as accurate as they should have been in the market. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it drove the value up significantly when they accounted for all of the sales, and that's where she's able to.
So it was a computer generated?
No, truly it's just that, oftentimes that it works out that the condition adjustments. It truly is just because these are as well represented in the market. The adjustment that the homes were given, or the increase that the homes were given, whatever adjustment was given to bring those up to market was more than these needed.
Well, the adjusted value, I think, is very reasonable. Like, it seems low to me, but I would make a motion to approve the adjusted value.
We've already sent those out.
You've already sent out the ones that we need to.
I don't think we do.
We're going to start this right now. It is a second.
We'll approve it at that amount.
And we just don't want to do that.
Something like that.
And so, if the law allowed the taxes not to be increased, well, I'm talking about taxes. If the law allowed the new assessor's property tax assessment not to be passed, approved, would you be inclined to do that? Say, no, you're not.
Whatever the law says, I mean, there's been a lot of proposals, you've got California.
Prop 13.
Experiment, which created a real mess. The problem here is equalization. It's constitution, and they do equalization for funding of schools. So that some school districts are bigger than others, but if you want to know where the property taxes are, because the city and the county are allowed to increase approximately 5% of the money. So the value goes up higher than that, the levy goes down. So you only be paying 5% more dollars. If you follow tax news, District 91, schools aren't bound by the same thing. So if they pass a bond, they just take all of their value. They paid off their bonds 9.5 years early. Just because then it goes up to full value. That's one thing we have to see about. By the way, what's Billy doing these days?
He's kind of retired. Well, yeah, he's retired. He's not practicing.
For a while.
He hasn't for a while. And there's a whole saga.
I know. But
Yeah, he's
I know
he chose a different path.
he did. I know.
Now, give me your name again.
Roger Christensen.
Roger Christensen.
He and Dave Radwood and Lee Staker used to be real close friends.
Oh, yeah.
And I could give him all kinds of grief.
I still do.
But yeah, so tell him how anyway.
I will do that.
All right.
Hey, appreciate this and Jill, you did a good job. And I said that without knowing that you were.
And tell Billy you're the better looking guy.
Well, of the 4 boys, I'm the best looking.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Although I will say, my youngest brother, he's the Boise High School student body president, the BYU student body president, the Harvard MBA. I make more money.
I'm gonna walk you to our assistant manager who's hardcore Boise State and have to sit down and talk to him. That's a true BYU fan.
Well, yeah, and I went to both schools.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I went to Boise State.
Okay, I want this on my record. That's even
I
better.
went to Boise State and I loved Blue Field. In fact, I opened up my very first checking account. Let me just sit down so I'm on camera. I opened up my very first checking account in 1967. My dad had the Kirby Vacuum Cleaners distributorship right across the street on Broadway Avenue. And his sister was the accountant. And my very first paycheck, we were working part-time fixing these machines, got this paycheck, some tiny amount, and there's this debit here for a small amount. And I said, what is this about? She says, that's your taxes. Welcome to America. Pay your taxes. I've been paying taxes for a long time.
All right.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so, which is this?
This is, you get these instead of teams.
He was exposed to COVID, my little brother helped him out, so. Yeah, over the 4th.
Didn't you have 4th or couple before?
He did?
Yeah.
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 So he hasn't gotten it, he was being cautious, so yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we hope he's well. Yes.
Yes, he is.
I was just thinking of calling him today, and I should have.
Well, he was in Alaska last week, that's probably where they got it, so.
Okay. All right, so these are, first one's the Anna Park Drive.
Yes, both of these have to do with the developer's exemption.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And the developer's exemption, you're the original developer, are you correct?
Correct.
And why was it removed?
I didn't remove it, Dean never had the opportunity to apply for it, assisting the applications, I called him, my phone, I hesitated to apply for it. And he
And
never,
never applied for it?
he didn't get he said he didn't get the message that I had called. So I told him, I said, well, we need to, the only thing I can do is recommend go up to commissioners.
Isn't there a deadline for the application? Does it roll over a year, or he never applied in the beginning?
He hasn't applied in the beginning.
These were platted. I mean, he was not sure on the Ammon when I asked him, he said, I'm not sure I ever paid full, last year's, he wasn't sure. So both of these plats have been recorded within the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. And they applied, and they re-recorded them last year. Or the plats were going to. And
Did you put the developer, what do you call it?
the developer's exemption. No, I did not, because they didn't apply for it in time. I just wrote down on this, if it was approved, this is what the values would go to.
But are we not bound by that date statutorily?
Unfortunately, I think we dealt with this with Dean once before, when he passed the law.
You'd think you would have remembered.
I remember we had a discussion with him. We needed to apply, I think that was his bill, wasn't it?
I do not know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, which is a very good bill.
But he has applied in the
So we'll see the next year.
Yes, all three, I believe, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think you can see where this is probably probably we have to uphold the laws that
Sure.
our legislators graciously bestows upon us.
Sure.
And I feel bad, you know, because I know he's had a busy year.
Just purely oversight, so he said, well, give it a shot, we'll see what we can do, so.
Thanks for asking.
Right.
I appreciate it. He probably expected it.
Well, I'm sure he wished he was here in person.
Yeah, I would like to see.
Perfect.
We miss him.
He doesn't miss it, I'm sorry to say. Well, that's Alaska, and his little farm out there, and, yeah. Oh, yeah, that keeps him busy for sure. Perfect.
They just do this work.
All afternoon, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. And then this next page.
So he has 18 acres, that's where our office is as well, so he's got a big barn and, he just sort of runs a few cows, he's out there on his tractor. So that's where he lives, so, but our office downtown is really his hobby. Pretty close, it's about a mile away from it. Corner of Park and York, if you remember where all those chinchilla sheds were. That's his property, yeah. It's been good. So I live in Shelley, and I had neighbors that live half a mile from me, and they all, so 5 out of them went dry behind me.
Yeah.